Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new season of On the Couch. Back and better than ever, I'm Tom Snapoli.
And I'm Avish Khan. To start off our show today, we are here with Sasha Ravensky and Sarah Yoakum from the Rowan Center of Holocaust and Genocide Studies. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. How are you doing today?
Great.
Good.
Thanks for having us.
So to start off, how did this come about? I read somewhere that one of you had gone to a book club and you were inspired by that experience. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, yeah, it was actually me. So the Rowan Center for Holocaust and Genocide Studies was inducted in the fall of 2015, and it's led by an education professor and a history professor. And what they would do every other week is have a book series and a conversation series, and I started to attend those, and eventually it evolved into needing more student interaction, so I decided to make a student association.
That's great. And what do you do in your meetings? How have you been bringing people together to come often?
Well, within the meetings itself, we talk about a lot of different topics. Obviously, we talk about the Holocaust and different parts of that, but we also talk about different genocides, and we talk about genocides that have happened in the past and that are currently happening or that are in the near future most likely going to happen around the world. I'm sorry, what was the other question?
No, you're doing great.
So, like you said, you don't just cover things like the Holocaust and Genocide Studies. Recently, I saw the Holly Bush sign was kind of defaced, and I understand both of you really had strong opinions about that. So what is your student association doing to bring that matter to the Rowan community, and what are you guys saying about it?
Well, we actually hope to have a prof talk soon where we're going to kind of talk about channeling activism and protest in proactive and productive ways. Regardless of what your beliefs are, there are good ways of getting that meaning across, and we kind of hope to pull people together and really understand the right way to get your message across, no matter what it may be.
Okay, so I understand both of you, well, getting away from the association for just a second, both of you are student teachers, both of you are history teachers. So what are you going to do? What is this association doing? Maybe help you with your student teaching, and what are you going to take from what you say maybe in the prof talks or in your meetings and bring them to the classroom?
Well, definitely I know for my student teaching experience, I'm teaching U.S. history. Yeah. So it's definitely going to, the Holocaust especially, is going to come up. Yeah. And it is something that we always need to cover because it was tragic and needs to be addressed. But knowing how to interact with different students on campus and getting them involved in this process, it kind of shows you how you can really involve students in a topic that they may not totally be interested in. You know, it's different ways that we can bring different ideas, bring different opinions, share stories, and how it can just transform and have students really become more interested in the topic.
Anything for you?
Yeah, we actually had a teacher workshop last semester about the rape of Nanking, which is another genocide that occurred in China, 1937, so pre-World War II. And basically we just talk about different resources we could use, primary documents, secondary documents, and how to really incorporate that into a classroom in the 21st century, and how to make it so young children especially can understand these like deep and dark topics. So it's a learning experience for all of us.
I think that's really great. I think it's really important for people to understand because sometimes these things are happening right now also. We might not be aware of it. So recently was Holocaust Remembrance Day. Did your organization do anything for that?
Yes, definitely. We were a huge part of that.
We had a vigil actually on that day, and we walked from Robinson Green to the Student Center, and then we had a candlelight ceremony where a rabbi came out and said a couple prayers, and a couple people who have survivors and not survivors in their family spoke. So it really was a beautiful moment. And it was good to see that people from all different parts of Rowan, including like a fraternity, our student association, and even some faculty came out. So it was good. It was a good day.
So, Sarah, you're the founder. You're the president. Sasha, you're a senator. So what are you guys, like, what do your positions entail, really? And like you said, the student association was founded very recently, but you do have a pretty sizable association itself. So how do you look to expand that? And again, what do you guys do individually for the association?
You can go first,
okay.
President.
So my role is basically, I oversee everything and I dictate a lot of things. This really was my baby, so I really recruited a lot of people. I worked closely with our advisors. I linked up with SGA to figure out what we need to, become a budgeted group. So I oversee a lot of things, I plan a lot of things, and I kind of just tell people what to do.
It's always fun. I'm the senator for the club. I basically work with SGA most of the time. I will go to the Senate meetings every other Monday night. I will make sure that we go do different events. We will go do fundraisers. I will sign us up for those fundraisers. I make sure we're a well-oiled machine and we're running smoothly. Sarah has graciously let me run a lot of different things as well and help me designate different parts of the club, figure out how things are going to work. And because we're so brand new, it's still a learning process for both of us, but we're slowly learning that it's going to be a fun experience.
How have your turnouts been so far?
Great. Our roster is close to 30.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty good for a brand new club.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Toot my own horn. But great. We've had a lot of people come out to different events. We have a lot of film directors and survivors come out. So I would say roughly we have anywhere from like 20 students and like 20 faculty members come out to at least every event. So it's awesome. So we're really excited about that.
So both of you are seniors this year, like you said, this is your baby. So how are you guys looking to, leave a legacy here, but also pass the torch for later people and just the university as a whole, not even people this being, here long after you guys are gone?
Well, our e-board itself has a lot of younger members in it. Like for example, our vice president, he's going to be a junior, so when we leave, he will be able to take it on from there. But just getting involved and getting it spread and having it have a real stamp on the campus kind of comes from the fact that we've been working so hard this semester and last semester to make sure that we do have a legacy on campus and that we can help foresee it going further. We work with the advisors very closely. We will make sure that we get involved in any way possible we can. We'll align ourselves with different other organizations if we can. And it's just make sure that we can most definitely keep this going.
Leave our legacy.
Yeah.
One more thing before we go. We never mentioned where and when do you guys meet? So if I want to come and I want to be a part of this, where do I go? When do I get there?
Well, because the center has weekly events, you could easily come out to those. They're actually held in the, conflict resolution office in Robinson's second floor. And so if you come to one of those, it's every Wednesday at 12:30. So you'll see the advisors there, and then they would be able to give you the information about the Student Association. We kind of meet different places because we don't have a location just yet. So yeah.
If you would like to come to the meetings, you can either email Sarah, email our Vice President, Chris Fisher, any one of the e-board members. We'd be glad to let you know when and where everything is going on.
Okay, Sasha, Sarah, thank you so much for coming on the couch, and thank you for shedding light on your wonderful Student Association.
And thank you for having us.
Coming up after the break, we have Allison Nemec from the Rowan Anime Club, so stay with us.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's not something you buy.
Or something you take.
In fact, there's only one way to get it.
It has to be given to you, freely.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape. Consent.
If you don't get it, you don't get it. It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Welcome back. So we just heard from Sarah and Sasha, and now we are joined by the president of the Rowan Anime Club, Allison Nemec, and Senator Johan Burke. Welcome down the couch, guys.
Thank you.
So you guys have a very unique club. Anime is a very it's a thing where you really kind of have to be focused in on it. Now, are you founders of the club, or did you take it over?
I took over the club last year because most of the executive board was seniors at that point. So by me taking it over, there's been a lot of changes to the club.
Such as?
Such as it's not just a focus on anime itself. We welcome anybody with any type of interest in Japanese culture, video games, pretty much anything that ties along with anime.
Now, heard you mention Japanese, and I saw on your prof link it even says Japanese culture and anime. So what is it about that that's so appealing?
Japanese culture is interesting because everyone there dresses in different ways. They express themselves in a more artistic manner than a lot of Americans do. And just the stories in anime cover a lot of topics that American media doesn't cover.
I also think that a big part of it for me is that in Japanese culture, and you notice this with a lot of series, the artists put a lot of themselves into it more so than in American media, and I appreciate that a lot.
Now, what do you mean by putting more of themselves
Like,
into it? Like, how do we see or hear that?
Certain shows are expressions of the artist's or the director's personal feelings, which I really like, and yeah.
So how much Japanese culture or the Japanese language should one know before looking into anime?
Basically any amount. You can have little to no knowledge beforehand because there's subtitles for these shows, or even a lot of shows are American dubbed. That way people don't have to read subtitles if they don't like that kind of thing.
Is there even or do the books also come in English though, or is that just for the show there's subtitles?
There's also some books that are translated, but for a lot of books, they haven't come to America yet. So if you really want to get deep into it, people do learn the language and how to read it.
Do either of you know Japanese?
No.
No. So how do you enjoy the books though? Is it just you kind of look up the story online and then look into it? What's your process?
Also, a lot of manga and anime, a lot of anime is adapted from manga, so you kind of get a similar experience. So that's kind of how I do it. And also I just have more of a preference for the audio and animated package as a whole.
So you mentioned manga, so can you expand on that just a little bit?
For those who don't know. The graphic novels that are released for certain series, excuse me, they're read from right to left, written in Japanese. Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. So before we kind of get back to our whole anime conversation, going with the club, so you're the president, you're the senator. What are your duties really? What do you guys do for the club?
I mean, our whole e-board kind of works together and everyone shares roles, but as president, a lot of my roles lie in getting members to join, setting up events, and just overall planning out how the club should run as a whole.
And the senator's job is specifically, we're SGA chartered, and so the senator has to go to SGA Senate meetings, speak up there, do announcements for the club, and participate in the whole voting process when proposals or SGA elections are held.
So what are some events that your club has put together so far?
We, back in the fall semester, hosted an animal shelter food collection, so that took place throughout an entire week. And then we haven't put together too many events for the upcoming semester because we're focusing more on volunteer work. But in the future, we would like to put together a convention if possible.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
So what is your overall goal of the club? And you mentioned trying to bring people in. So how do you guys try to do that, bring more people into the clubs, whether it's in your meetings or events?
A lot of it is word of mouth or through social media. So a lot of people who come to our club have all different skill sets in how they like anime or just more nerdy kind of activities. So our club centers more on a social aspect where people can just talk about whatever they want, and then we introduce some anime elements to the club, such as showing a show some days or incorporating something and introducing part of the Japanese culture.
So what do you have a Facebook or a Twitter or anything you want to say right now for anyone watching who's potentially interested?
If you're interested, we use our Facebook page often, and that is RUAC, Rowan University Anime Club, and it'll come up.
What's it called? So for the convention, I'm really interested in that. Does that happen at universities? Is that a thing, or is that something that you're trying to start yourself?
A lot of universities do have them already, but Rowan hasn't. Actually, our partner school, RCGC, hosts one every year, so we'd like to kind of work with them.
We also know there's one at Villanova, I think.
So we've been talking a lot about anime, but I think it would be a little kind of an injustice if you guys didn't talk about your favorite show. So what is your guys' favorite anime show and why? You know, I'm interested. Nothing I've gotten into, but I need recommendations.
You want to go first?
Okay. My favorite is Durarara. It's a show. It's a little difficult to explain. It has a huge cast. I like it because it has a perfect balance of action, smart dialogue, funny moments, serious moments. Every character is unique, and you sympathize with pretty much all of them. It has supernatural elements. There's a motorcyclist who is in search of her head. There's a lot of love stories. It's just got everything. I love it so much.
Is it just like a roller coaster of emotions? Because it kind of seems that way.
A little bit, yes, but
Okay.
it's also very enjoyable.
What about you, Allison?
My favorite would be Your Line April, which is basically a drama and slice of life, which is a more realistic approach on anime, which follows the story of instrumentalists competing in order to become the best of their age group, and it centers around a lot of middle school age kids. And it just really hit close to home because I used to play violin, and one of the main protagonists of the anime is violinist. So.
Wow.
Is that something you think that we could get into as like beginners into it, or would that be too much for us?
Probably Durarara would be a better beginning show, just because Your Line April, if people don't like sad stories or really dramatic tales, they might not like it as much. So the best way to get involved with an anime is through a genre you like or something more lighthearted.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. I think me and Tom will definitely look into these animes and manga series.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Coming up after the break, we've got Sean Kelly with this week's Man on the Street.
Oh, look, a redhead. Staring contest. You still got it. I know. Come alive with the forest. The dad was cute.
You were looking right at us.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
Cinderella found the pet that fits her perfectly. Tiana gave her pet the royal treatment. Belle found beauty where no one else did. And you can too. Share your heart. Share your love. Bring home your forever friend. Make a shelter pet part of your world. Happily Ever After begins at theshelterpetproject.org.
Football. Welcome to a new season of Man on the Street. Today's topic, 2017 Super Bowl. All right, we're here with Mike in Savage Hall talking about the 2017 Super Bowl. So Mike, how surprised were you with the ending of this Super Bowl?
I mean, I thought the game was over, just like anyone else would, because, you know, when you're up 25 points, that's usually what happens. But Tom Brady was Tom Brady, and it was probably the greatest game of all time.
Well, here we go. And Henry M. Rowan wins the Super Bowl. During the Super Bowl, commercials are a huge part.
Yes.
What was your favorite commercial about the Super Bowl, if you watched them? Do you have a commercial?
I watched, yeah. I had a favorite commercial. I really liked the Mr. Clean
Oh,
commercial.
I was going to say that too.
Yeah.
I've never seen a perspective of cleaning products like that in my entire life.
It was.
All right, thanks.
Pretty much how it goes.
Tom Brady right here giving you this sweet RTN football.
Awesome.
For the pass.
Oh, look at that.
And the Savage Hall wins the Super Bowl.
It was funny and it was like almost really weird, but it wasn't weird enough.
Of course.
Like it could have been weirder. It could have been weirder, but
It's
it was
that borderline,
it was
yeah.
so funny. So I
Mr.
was like, maybe the next time I go shopping, I'll get Mr. Clean products.
I'm sold. I'm totally full Mr. Clean immersion.
Yeah.
My house is Mr. Clean, not just clean. It's Mr. Clean. She's going in for the Super Bowl. Oh wait, it's still gonna happen. What? Oh, it's under the chair there.
Oh.
We're good. We're good.
Well, Welcome back to On the Couch. That was Sean Kelly with Man on the Street, and let's just say something. Super Bowl came and gone. I know it was a couple weeks ago, but I'm a big sports fan. I'm a huge Tom Brady fan. It was cool to see what other people had to say.
Yeah, it was. And Sean always does a great job of Man on the Street.
Always does, and I will say something just before we get to hot topics. Tom Brady is the best person to ever have touched a football and play in the National Football League. But today's Valentine's Day.
Yes, it is. Do you have any plans?
Do I have any plans? No, I don't. But I did receive some nice chocolates, not from my mother actually. Someone actually was thoughtful, went out of their way. I got in a nice heart-shaped box. They were Hershey, so someone's really thinking of me.
Oh, that is nice.
Yeah, a little secret admirer going on. But
I've been seeing some fun stuff. Valentine's Day, some people call it Single Awareness Day.
yeah, I've heard that actually around RTN more than anywhere else.
I saw some cool stuff. There was like a heart-shaped thing at, I think, a grocery store with sushi in it. I'm a fan of that. Love sushi.
Now, what kind of
love
sushi
hearts.
was in it?
It was like a mix of stuff. I saw some California rolls. I saw some shrimp tempura. So
That's
I
good
want
stuff.
that. I need to find that. I want that.
Yeah, I need to get my hands on that immediately. I also like Valentine's Day because I love, the internet's a fun place sometimes. And Valentine's Day is one of those days where the internet's really fun. I've seen little girls crying in the snow. And for whatever reason, the caption was just me on Valentine's Day. Now, why am I laughing at little girls crying in the snow? You probably got to evaluate that, but it's still funny.
No, absolutely. I've seen stuff where people are like listening to my romantic playlist, even though I have nowhere romantic to be. But then I also have friends who are getting all dolled up to go out. So you see a mix of everything on the internet. Love it.
Yeah, this is about how dressed up I get for Valentine's Day to go nowhere, so that's exciting.
Absolutely.
So another thing that kind of came and went was the Grammys.
Grammys.
And one of the biggest things about the Grammys was Lady Gaga. It's cool. We were just talking about Super Bowl. She
Absolutely.
performed there. That performance was great. But she also performed at the Grammys with Metallica, and I liked it. Besides the fact that Metallica is, I don't know, their microphones weren't turned on.
There was issues definitely at the Grammys, but she always does a great job. Also, talking about issues, Adele had some issues also. She had to stop the whole performance just to say for George Michael's remembrance song type thing. I'm not using the right words, but she had to stop and she had to sing again. But she still did a great job. She killed it as always.
And it was cool too. She cursed and she just completely, to have either the presence of mind to do that the way you look at it, or just, I don't know, just to actually stop and say it. Best New Rapper, Chance the Rapper won.
Yes.
So I know Adele won 5, but that was big.
That was a big one, yeah.
I know. I'm not huge into rap music, but to see him win, honestly, that was the most notable name from that list. I
Yeah.
think he was well deserving
I think
of that.
he's one of the very few rappers that even won at all that night anyway. So he did a great job. And Beyonce did not win the big one at the end that Adele was, crying for her. But Beyonce always killed it on stage. That was really great.
Well, when Beyonce comes on stage, you're going to get a show.
A show,
and
absolutely.
people are going to be talking about it. And before we get off this subject and move on, you got to give it to Adele, 5 Grammys.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of her music because I don't like to cry and curl up in a ball every time I listen to music. But she is immensely talented and well-deserving of those 5 Grammys.
Absolutely. I love how she just sings. She doesn't have a show, like with dancing and lights and all that. She sings and it's still an amazing show.
Exactly.
And then moving on to The Bachelor. So they did a little bit of a weird thing last night. They announced who's going to be the Bachelorette, but The Bachelor hasn't ended yet. So we already know who that person's going to be. So kind of like spoilers for some people that they don't know what's going on. Spoilers that they already know, they have an idea of who's not going to be coming back in the next episode.
That's interesting. Now, I don't watch The Bachelor, but boy, would I love to be on The Bachelor.
Would you?
How many girls start out?
A lot. I think
A
that's
lot. Just think about that. To have a lot, whatever number that is, a lot of women start fighting over you.
It's a crazy show.
I think it'd be great. I think I'd be good at it.
I think you'd be good at it too. The short time we
I
know
mean,
each other,
I don't
think
really
you'd
know.
be
I don't
good
really
at
know what it
too.
entails, but I would certainly like to try.
So you can probably audition right now for The Bachelorette, and if you don't find love, maybe they'll choose you to be the
No,
Bachelor.
see, I don't want to be on The Bachelorette. I don't
You just
want
wanna
to
be the
chase
star.
after someone. I want someone chasing after
But
me.
usually they choose the people who don't make it. That's kind of what their cycle has been so far.
Yeah,
So
you
might
know
have
more
to,
about it than me.
You might have to go through those mountains together.
Okay, interesting. Well, thank you for joining us this week on The Couch. For Mavish Khan, I'm Thomas Napoli.